And welcome in, everybody. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O with you. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 16th. We're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Thanks to everybody on Facebook and YouTube Live. If you miss any of the live broadcasts, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud. We're sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino, celebrating 40 years of the best British food and drink you'll find in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley's longest running British pub and restaurant. BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252-7262. All right, Vasu and Charlie here. Charlie was not here on Monday. We'll talk about the NFL. We'll review last week in the NFL with Charlie, a little bit of college football as well. The NFL will start week 2 tonight with the New York Giants visiting the nation's capital, the Washington football team. All of the teams in the NFC East, except for the Philadelphia Eagles, lost. So this is a battle of 0-1 teams tonight. It's a division game. It's Thursday night. It'll be an exciting game. I'm actually looking forward to it tonight. And then some of the college games that are going to happen this week, we'll talk about those as well, some of the bigger ones this weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll be back at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube and Facebook. We'll have our little baseball segment for the weekend, and then it'll be from that point on, it'll be the Friday football segment for the rest of the show, where we talk about the entire NFL, the entire NCAA slate that we have this weekend as we get going into the world of football. By the way, you can go to Britannia Arms, check out all your NCAA NFL action on Saturday and Sunday. They have 20 TVs in there. Last time I went in there, they were putting up 20 TVs in there. Also, one last thing here before we get to Charlie is there are 2 baseball games that are going to go off in about a half an hour, actually one in about 15 minutes. The Atlanta Braves trying to hold on to the NL East with Ian Anderson going up against German Marquez and the Colorado Rockies. As of right now, it's 168 Atlanta with the total at 8. Colorado won yesterday in extra innings over the Braves. They look to get another game from Atlanta after what's going on in the NL East. And then Cincinnati has really struggled. They've lost 4 in a row. They have lost every game in Pittsburgh in every possible way the last 3 nights. They are in Pittsburgh. Tyler Mahle versus Connor Overton pitching for the Pittsburgh Pirates, young rookie. The Reds really need a win today. They're 2 back in the wild card. We'll hit all the baseball in a second. How are you, Charlie?
Dude, I am great. The hot weather in Sacramento seems to have finally broken. We were just talking. We had double the number of triple-digit days that we're supposed to have up here this year, which, global warming, overheating, a super drought, all those kind of things are so exciting and just make one's attitude so positive. I've been here, and so it's nice to have we had a night last night. It was about 76 degrees. We ate outside with my grandson and his fiance, just, the way it's supposed to be in the fall.
No doubt. Don't forget, we'll have our updated picks as well. We'll have afternoon picks coming up. In fact, I'll give you the one pick right now. I have the Colorado Rockies with German Marquez at plus 158. I got it at plus 160. The game goes off in 15 minutes. So that's my first pick of the day. And then all the other picks we'll have later on in the show, as well as don't forget to check out our media picks by 6 o'clock Eastern on Twitter, social media picks. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can email us at mtmarpodcast@gmail.com. Catch Charlie and I both on Facebook and Instagram as well. And we're pretty diligent about getting our picks out there by 6 o'clock Eastern every day for the later news. One game not on the board yet, the Phillies and the Cubs, a big game for wildcard purposes and the American League, the National League East purposes. No pitcher yet listed for Philadelphia, Charlie.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump okay. On. By the way, my new favorite name in all of baseball with the Phillies, outfielder Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah.
First of all, if you haven't seen it, go to your favorite sports network channel, because last night he made this incredible catch in right field to prevent a home run.
The Cardinals outfielder, Lars Nootbaar.
I'm sorry, Cardinals outfielder. He made this incredible catch to keep the game going into extra innings. But what a name. Lars Nootbaar. I mean, first of all, he sounds like he had to be a hockey player. But there you go. Remember that name, Lars Nootbaar.
He is a good player, by the way, for the Cardinals. He's played very well. He's contributed to St. Louis. They are red hot. We'll get to the notes and news in a second. But here are the game lines. 3 National League games that are on the board right now. The Phillies and Cubs are not on the board yet. They don't have a listed pitcher for Philadelphia tonight. As I look at the notes here, I believe that is, to be determined. Kyle Hendricks for the Cubs. That game an hour earlier, too. So it's 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock for the Cubs and Phillies to close out that series. Every series in baseball is a closing of a series, except for the Detroit Tigers and Tampa Bay Rays. They will have a 4-game series starting tonight in Tampa Bay with Tyler Alexander and Luis Head going tonight for Tampa Bay, trying to close out the American League East. All right, let's get to the National League here, Charlie, a little bit. The 3 lines we have: Atlanta 168. In fact, they're in a delay. I just saw the update. They're in probably a rain delay, I'm assuming, in Atlanta. Let's see. Yeah, rain delay in Atlanta, weather delay. Ian Anderson, German Marquez, the Rockies' lone all-star, is pitching. He pitches well against Atlanta. They don't score a lot of runs on the road for Colorado, but they do play well in Atlanta, and Marquez is a pretty good pitcher. I'm going to go with the underdog. Underdogs seem to be winning in these day games. Look at the Milwaukee Brewers yesterday getting beat 2 games in a row by the Detroit Tigers. Of course, Milwaukee up 13 in the Central anyway, so that division is pretty much wrapped up. Cincinnati Reds, Tyler Mahle, they need a win. 4-game losing streak. They were right there. They were tied with Milwaukee 2 months ago, right out of the All-Star break, and then they swept Milwaukee in Milwaukee. That's a far cry from where they are right now, trying to even just make it to the second wildcard spot. Tyler Mahle, Connor Overton, we said. Kevin Gossman, Pierce Johnson, the Giants' 9-game winning streak came to an end last night. They had an opener. Leon went again. Dominic Leon went again last night as the opener. 5 runs after 2 innings, 5-0. They end up losing 9-6 to the Giants. The Dodgers win 5-3 over Arizona last night. That National League West is down to 2 games, Charlie. Let's start there. Let's start with the National League West right now. Both teams in the playoffs. We mentioned last week that if they do tie, since the second wild card was added and the elimination factor, that they don't go right into a 5-game series. It's a 1-game elimination. So winning a division versus getting a wild card is very important, and so that's why they have to play the game 163. The NL West down to 2 games in the loss column. It says 1.5, but it's 2 games in the loss column. I think the Dodgers have the day off today, so it'll be even in number of games after today. Giants go at 345 against San Diego to close out that series, trying to take the series 3 out of 4. The National League West, Charlie, take it away.
Well, Vasu, we've been talking about it all season long. You know, the Giants are excelling in a way that no one could predict. And as we've looked at the big board in Vegas all the way through up until I think you said yesterday, it has been the numbers on the board have had the Dodgers as the favorites. Now, I think you said the Giants finally went into the favorites yesterday?
Yeah, I want to say Tuesday or yesterday that they went into the favorite spot because they were up 3 up with like 20 to go.
So now you go, okay, well, maybe that's going to happen. But the Dodgers will not go away. They just will not go away. And I'm in Northern California. I'm not a Giants fan, but I have a lot of friends who are Giants fans. My grandson's a Giants fan. I want Giants fans to be happy. But I got to tell you, folks, beware of the Dodgers. This is a loaded team. And would I be surprised when game 162 happens that the Dodgers are in first place and the Giants are in the wild card? No, I would not, because they've been right there. It's close. It's been close. And if the Giants hiccup at all, they're going to get passed. Now, will that happen? Shoot, they're 9-1 in their last 10. They're playing like a team that wants to win. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying if you want to watch a baseball race right now, that's the one to watch. That's the one to watch, because we have got a pennant race in the in the National League West.
No doubt. The Dodgers 2 back of the Giants. The Giants, after their game with the Padres today, will host the Atlanta Braves this weekend in a 3-game series. They lost 2 out of 3 in Atlanta about 3 weeks ago. The Dodgers are going to Cincinnati. It might be the best time to go to Cincinnati right now for the Dodgers.
What a gift.
Yeah, they've got it all lined up right now. I think Buehler, let me see this. Buehler goes tomorrow. So that means probably Scherzer goes on Saturday. And then Kershaw comes back on Sunday for LA with their day off because he pitched on Monday night. So there you go. Buehler, Scherzer, and Kershaw going for the 3 games against the Reds this weekend. We'll see if the Reds have any life in them coming up. Speaking of those Atlanta Braves, they did lose to Colorado. We mentioned that yesterday at home, 3-2 in extra innings. Colorado Rockies go in there and get that victory. The Philadelphia Phillies won last night. They won in the bottom of the ninth inning. They beat the Cubs 6-5 after blowing a ninth inning 5-4 lead, in which I had the under 9. So the home run in the ninth inning did not help. This is a wagering show, folks. Don't forget that's called Make the Money and Run for a reason. Philadelphia ends up winning 6-5 in the bottom of the ninth. They stay at 4 back. Actually, they pick up a game. I'm sorry. They're 4 back of the Atlanta Braves. The Mets, who've lost 3 in a row to the St. Louis Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals are red hot right now. They are 7-3 in their last 10. They have leapfrogged 3 teams. They are in the second spot in the wild card. They're 1 up on San Diego. San Diego finally got a win last night. 2 up on Cincinnati, who has lost 4 in a row, including the last 3 to Pittsburgh, and up 3 up on Philadelphia, and 6 up on St. Louis. I'm sorry, not St. Louis. 6 up. The Mets, not St. Louis. I typed St. Louis twice. The Mets. Let me take that off here and do that. But the Mets are 6 back in the wild card race. They really have struggled. Unbelievable how the Mets have played right now. But let's get to the National League East here, really, Charlie, real quick. They're coming into the Atlanta Braves are coming into San Francisco this weekend, and they're not that close to clinching yet. In fact, as I look at it, the Braves are 76-68. Philadelphia 73-72. So the magic number is still 15 for the Braves to win that division. Excuse me. They probably are playing the best of anybody in the American League East right now. Philadelphia 4-6 in their last 10. The Mets 3-7 in their last 10. Braves 5-5. So barely playing better than anybody else. But the National League East, albeit not great baseball, certainly not the caliber of baseball the National League West or the Milwaukee Brewers are playing right now. But by default, it's a race.
Well, yeah, I mean, somebody has to play in the East, and somebody's got to win in the East. So, it's going to be somebody. I mean, that's the way it is. The Braves are not a shoe in there, and the Phillies are still a factor. I'm with you. I don't think the Mets are a factor at this point. That team has been a hot mess all season, and it's not getting better. They lost. Let's see. I think they lost that game in the 9th last night, right? You're muted. Hit your button.
2 nights ago, Tyler O'Neill hit the home run to take the lead. But last night they got a 5 spot for John Lester early, which helped John Lester. By the way, John Lester, for all the flack that he's taken, in fact, I got a text from somebody yesterday saying, "Why are you taking Lester? He hasn't been good all year." I go, his last 7 starts, his ERA is about 2.5 runs a game, earned runs.
Love it? Don't you just love it?
John Lester is playoff caliber, and he's showing it right now for the Cardinals, and he's a big reason that they've leapfrogged 3 teams into the second spot in the wild card. St. Louis, can they hold on to the wild card, Charlie? It's second spot right now. San Diego still has games to play, obviously. I'm not sure where San Diego is over the weekend. I want to say they're going to be at home. They are going to St. Louis this weekend, so that's a huge series this weekend for San Diego and St. Louis.
I saw on ESPN Fangraphs right now projects that St. Louis has the best percentage to take that second spot in the wild card right now, and by quite a bit. Yeah. So St. Louis, they're playing well, and doggone it, St. Louis, don't they always come through at the end?
They just play good baseball. Mike Schultz, a really good manager.
It's a good organization. Just traditionally, the heritage of that organization always seems to come through at the end. So it looks like and I know for baseball fans out on the West Coast, it would be, hey, we got everybody into the playoffs out here. But for baseball in general, just across the country, it would be good to have somebody else other than 3 teams on the West Coast, just for a national TV audience and blah, 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 and the deep dive of what's best for baseball.
Fangraphs analysis always pretty good. Their projections a little shaky for me because Fangraphs at the beginning of the year had the Giants at 5% to make the playoffs this year in April. So,
and who didn't have the Giants?
Well, but you know what, Charlie? I said in April that the Giants are not as bad as people are making them out to be. I didn't think the Padres were head and shoulders above them. I stuck to that all year. It's proven to be right, and they may not even make the wild card playoffs right now. The starting pitching has not been great. Darvish got hit up the other day. Blake Snell now has an injury, an adductor. I don't even know what an adductor is, but I know what an abduct is, but I don't know what an adductor is. So something in his stomach or something
Yeah,
in his side.
it's a lower abdominal kind of thing.
So
and I understand it hurts like all.
it hurts like hell, and he's probably going to be in the IL right now. So Reds and Pirates warming up right now. That's going to start in 20 minutes. Rockies Braves delayed by weather in Atlanta. The Athletics Royals will be at 2 o'clock Eastern, as well as the Angels and the White Sox. Padres Giants 3:45, and then 5 o'clock. Yankees Orioles 6 o'clock. Cubs Phillies. So a lot of early games today before Monday Night Football, as it happens right now. Going with it, but the wild card, back to the National League for a second. The wild card race, 4 teams in the wild card race. Unbelievable how this thing has turned around, because it was the Dodgers and Padres. Actually, it was the Padres and Dodgers first and second. For a while, Padres were even in first place for a couple of days. Giants took over first place. They've pretty much been in first place all year, except for a few days in July. And you look at the wild card race right now. St. Louis 1 game up on San Diego, 2 up on Cincinnati, 3 up on Philadelphia. The Mets, after losing 3 in a row, they're 6 back now, and they may have had their swan song with the St. Louis Cardinals this week. That's a huge series. St. Louis is going to host San Diego, 1 game up going into that series. St. Louis does have, I think they don't play the Mets today, right? That's the last game. Yeah, they're both off. Padres going to finish their series and go out to St. Louis this weekend. Cincinnati going to host the Dodgers this weekend. And the other teams in the wild card that we just mentioned were, where is it? Cardinals, Padres, Reds, Dodgers. Phillies are going to have, that's a very interesting question here, who the Phillies have this weekend. They're going to go to the Mets. So that's still a big series. If the Mets can come back on the Phillies a little bit, then maybe knock them out. But I think for the most part, the Phillies are trying to either catch the Braves in the East or make sure they kind of contend with the Padres and Cardinals, because they're not going to gain either way, because the Cardinals and Padres are going to win one way or the other, and that's going to keep the other 2 teams back, whoever wins that series. All right, let's move on to the American League here, Charlie. Real quick, the 5 games in the American League. The White Sox are going to host the Angels. Ronaldo Lopez, Alex Cobb going at 2 o'clock. 5 o'clock, the Yankees at minus 235. How about the Yankees getting that come from behind victory in the 9th inning over Baltimore? The Orioles have played them tough.
Double steal, baby. Double steal.
Yeah. Jordan Montgomery, Chris Ellis, the rookie for Baltimore. Baltimore having a tough time right now, especially even late. Tampa Bay hosting Detroit 1-4. Tampa Bay, I think their magic number I saw is 11. I want to say 11 to win the East. 54. 9 is the magic number over the Yankees and Blue Jays to win the American League East. 205 the favorite with Louis Head, Tyler Alexander for Detroit. Houston's magic number is 11. Houston's magic number is 11 over the Oakland A's. The A's got a victory last night over Kansas City, although they really didn't seem like they want to win that game last night over Kansas City. Their bullpen has issues, and if they're going to make any move right now, Houston 6-4 in their last 10, Oakland 4-6 in their last 10. Glenn Otto has pitched really well for Texas, young rookie, going up against Framber Valdez. So those are the American League games. Again, no Cubs, Phillies on the board yet. Let's go back to the notes here in the American League. Tampa Bay 9, the magic number we said. Chicago 7. Chicago struggling a little bit, but their magic number at 7. Houston at 11. Wild card, the top 2 spots are tied, exact records by the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero, by the way, leads the league in home runs and batting average now in the American League. He's 7 back in RBIs for a shot at the Triple Crown. A Triple Crown that he won't win because of Ohtani, regardless. I've never heard a Triple Crown winner not win an MVP, but this is going to be the year that it happens. And Boston 1 game back in 3rd place, so both the Yankees and the Blue Jays are all in the same division. Oakland with that victory last night, especially after big victory last night after blowing the game the other night on Tuesday night. They're 3 back of the Yankees and Blue Jays. In Seattle, they lost 2 out of 3 of the Red Sox at home, including the extra inning game yesterday. They are 4 back in the American League wildcard division. Go ahead, Charlie, on the American League.
Well, I'll tell you what, Oakland and Seattle have got to make some quick moves, because you've got those 3 East teams that all of a sudden are, it's kind of like roller derby. They're starting to boy, let me tell you, for all you youngsters, I'm sorry. I just made a reference that you have no idea what I made a reference to. They're kind of just running away. Okay, they're just kind of like, it's like a NASCAR race. They're drafting off each other. They're running away, and if Oakland and Seattle don't make a move quickly, they're gonna be left behind. because those three teams right now seem to be drawing off momentum off each other, and they all seem really serious about playing. And Toronto, wow, and for me, Vasu, and for you as well, we have spanned enough now generationally. We were in locker rooms where we were interviewing Guerrero's dad and Bichette's dad, and all of a sudden now to be watching these kids on the field doing the same thing and doing things better than their dads did. What a delight. What a delight, man. I mean, I almost feel like they're dads, because you go, wow, this is just awesome. But back to the games. I mean, they're playing such good baseball. I mean, they just seem like the Blue Jays to me seem like a team that's on a mission. And when you get a team that starts to feel that way, look out, because that's a team that starts to roll, and that's a team that starts to get dangerous. And I know, especially from a wagering standpoint, and remember, we are a wagering show, that you're never supposed to wager on momentum. But I am one who says, always look at the stats, always look at everything that you're supposed to look at numbers wise. But way down below, if you're having trouble making decisions, look at Big Mo, because that can, especially as you get to the end of the season and you have things like pennants waving out in the background, that can make a difference.
Yankees have the Indians this weekend. The Blue Jays will host the Twins this weekend. Where are we at in the wild card here? Boston will have the Orioles this weekend at home.
Oh, that's a gift.
And the Oakland A's, where are the A's this weekend? They are they're on the road, I believe. Yeah, they're in Anaheim this weekend as well too. And then the Seattle Mariners are going to Kansas City. So it's pretty much a round robin right now of all the teams, by the way. Oh, I want to give a shout out to Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals, by the way. 44 home runs. He leads the American League in RBIs right now. He's the one that's keeping Guerrero back. 110 RBIs, 44 home runs. He's one home run away from tying the major league record for home runs by a catcher in a season. I think Johnny Bench had 47, so 2 away. I want to say you would remember that, Charlie. That's your era right there in the 70s. But
I think 47 is correct.
I want to say 47 for Johnny Bench, but usually catchers break down in August and September, and all he's done is continue to hit the ball ever since the All-Star game. Salvador Perez has been on a mission.
Johnny Bench is my guy, and here's what I got to say. Salvador, break the record. That's what they're for. Break the record, buddy. I want you to get it.
Yeah, what a good guy he is. Salvador Perez has been with the Royals organization for a number of years. The Mariners are going to go into Kansas City. All these wild card ramifications are going to be in it. All right, a lot of baseball to talk about. We'll get some more baseball tomorrow. But when we come back, we'll preview tonight's game, the New York Giants and the Washington football team. We'll have a little college football action. We'll review last weekend with Charlie. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live. Thanks for downloading and subscribing, and also pass it along to everybody and everywhere you get to. We're sponsored by the Britannia Arms, celebrating 40 years. Back in 30 seconds with a lot of NFL talk as we preview the Thursday night football game. Hi, everyone. Vasu and Charlie back with you on the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. This is the Thursday edition, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. every Thursday. Tomorrow we'll be back at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific with a little baseball, but it's going to be Friday football show with all the college football, NFL football, NCAA football, and then we're on Mondays at 3 Eastern. A lot of college football to talk about this weekend as well, too. We'll review last weekend's as well. The Giants and the Washington football team will go tonight. We'll have later picks as well, too. We'll have picks for the afternoon games. By the way, an update I just read where the Braves and Rockies are hoping for a 2:15 start with Marquez and Anderson. on that game. If you have a service that does if bets, you can do it conditionally, where if they're rained out, you can have, if that cancels, then you can pick another game, so you don't have to worry about putting money on 2 games. So the A's and Royals go at 2 o'clock. The Angels and White Sox go at 2 o'clock also. Padres Giants go at 3:45, and then the Yankees Orioles at 5 o'clock, all leading up to Thursday Night Football and the start of Week 2. The New York Giants and the Washington football team. The Washington football team is a 3.5-point favorite. No Ryan Fitzpatrick. Taylor Heineke going to get the start for probably about the next 6 to 8 weeks. He played well in the playoffs last year when nobody knew about him. 40.5, the total in the game. The Giants, Daniel Jones, fumbling problems continue. He is this generation's Dave Craig. For anybody that remembers Dave Craig. Dave Craig led the world
Holy moly.
in fumbles.
Yep. Flashbacks.
Yes, I know. Well, you mentioned roller hockey, roller derby, so I figured I'd go back in the 80s. Dave Craig had a problem with fumbling.
That's fair.
3.5 points for Washington. That defense played well enough to win against the Chargers last week, but in the end, Justin Herbert just proved how good he is, and they ended up winning that game. The Chargers won that game 20-16. I think it'll be a better showing for Washington tonight because the Giants are not very good, and they hosted Denver last week. Denver ran all over them. Melvin Gordon had a 70-yard touchdown run against the Giants. Daniel Jones fumbled at critical times. They didn't run the ball very well. He wasn't protected very well. And now you've got Chase Young and company coming after them at home tonight in the nation's capital. I got a feeling this is going to be a bad night for the New York Giants, Charlie, even with Taylor Heineke at quarterback.
Well, for the Washington football team right now, Vasu, offense is almost inconsequential. The Washington football team is all about defense. And that's how they're going to win or they're going to lose. I mean, obviously they need offense, but really the Washington football team, what you want to watch with them is you want to watch their defense and their special teams, because that's how they're going to win. They need to be okay on offense. Obviously they need to score some points, but defense and special teams is what's going to make the difference for them on the field. The Giants, good Lord. I mean, what can you say about the Giants at this point? I mean, I think the coach is on the hot seat. Jones, we're still trying to figure out Jones. I mean, I don't know. What did he have last week? 267, one touchdown, 22 for 30.
Well, they were down too. I mean, he's a good thrower and he's a good passer. If he has the time to throw, he just fumbles a lot, takes too many chances. They have Mike Glennon as a backup. He played okay in the preseason, but this is Mike Glennon. Saquon Barkley, questionable tonight. I'm looking at the depth chart right now. Saquon Barkley, questionable for tonight. Devontae Booker.
The early reports this morning were that he is going to play. But, and this is a fantasy aside, and by the way, as a wagering show, I consider fantasy a part of our wagering because we know there are a lot of dollars out there on fantasy. And if you don't think so, folks, look into it a little bit. The last we heard about him, even though he's going to play, it is going to be limited because he's still banged up, and they're going to, if they use him in week 2, that's fine. But what they're concerned about is having him for week 17 as well. And really having him in week 10, week 11, week 12, hopefully propelling them to something bigger and better. So he's going to be limited tonight at best. So if you're thinking about starting him, and I do have him in my fantasy team, I am not starting him because I don't think he's going to be a points maker tonight.
Saquon Barkley, questionable. It is 3 days after their last game, him coming off a season-ending injury last year. Devontae Booker, the backup running back on the depth chart. Evan Ingram, their great tight end, is out. Kyle Rudolph, the backup tight end, will probably get most of the action as well. Kyle Rudolph has been very successful for fantasy players as well, too. The Washington defensive line, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat on the front line. Their linebackers are good. Their safeties, Landon Collins, Cameron Curl. The starters there, William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller at cornerback. They have a really good defense. Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. That front four is really, really, really good. And I got a feeling that they're going to have, and running wise, they've got Antonio Gibson, who had a good year last year as well. Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, the pass catching back Terry McLaurin has turned himself into a really good receiver. Adam Humphries they got from Tennessee. Logan Thomas has turned himself. A lot of people drafted Logan Thomas in fantasy football. Logan Thomas, a really good tight end, and I think he's somebody that Tyler Heineke can lean on. Their offensive line is really good. Leno, Flowers, Rowler, Schrift, and Cosme up that front line. They do run block very well, do the Washington football team. So 3.5 and 40.5 tonight. We're going to have a new sponsor. It's going to be Superdraft is the name of the company, mysuperdraft.io/VParty Sports. You can check them out. Get in there, and if you have any questions about that, just hit me up on the Twitter, hit me up on the email, hit me up on that. But mysuperdraft.io will get the fancy graphics out for week 3 as we get into the football. But they're a new sponsor for ours, and we thank them for coming on with us as well. All right, let's review a little bit. We talked about the Giants and the Washington football team as much as we can tonight. We know what's going to happen tonight. It's going to take place. Both are 0-1. The Eagles are 1-0 in the NFC East after their thrashing of the Atlanta Falcons. I want to say it's more the Falcons' woes than it is the Eagles' highs. But they were on the schedule, and they were 3.5-point underdog in Philadelphia. One of my favorite picks on the board last week was taking the Philadelphia Eagles at plus 3.5, and they sure enough went after it. But let's review some of the NFL, Charlie, that you and I did not get a chance to talk about since this is your first day back. How about Jameis Winston? 5 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers. They were a 4-point underdog in Jacksonville. The game was in Jacksonville due to the hurricane situation. I had New Orleans plus 4. Jameis Winston, 5 touchdowns versus Green Bay. Green Bay could not get out of its own way. They pressured Aaron Rodgers big time, and it was a 35 or 38-3 win over the Green Bay Packers. Jameis Winston, 5 touchdowns. More on the Green Bay side, or credit New Orleans for having Jameis Winston ready because of the Sean Payton factor?
Both. I think that New Orleans came in, pumped up, ready to go. I'm so thrilled for Jameis Winston. Of course, you know me. I am such a sucker for a redemption story. And then of course, if you remember, I was liking his attitude and the way he was talking during the preseason. I just liked the way he was getting ready, the way he was talking, the way he was preparing. And I just had big expectations for him coming into that game. And the Packers, I mean, after the game, well, we just weren't quite ready in this game. What? What?
Well, they had a little drama. Apparently, there's a little drama all summer with the Packers.
But see, do you remember what I talked about? I talked about that. Come on, Aaron Rodgers. You know what? That loss is on your head. Uh-huh. You can't do that to a professional football team. You're as a quarterback in the NFL, the team centers around, especially when you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, the team centers around you. And, okay, well, this is probably my last season and I don't want a farewell tour, blah, 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 blah. Folks, if you're a wagerer, stay away from that team. I'm going to tell you right now, until they can show you that they've settled down, I'm going to tell you right now, stay away from the Green Bay Packers, because right now up here, they don't know what they're doing. Aaron Rodgers last week, just as an example, and I think fantasy is an indication of what's going on with the team because it focuses on individual players. In my league, in the NFL fantasy leagues, he had just over 2 points. I don't know the last time I saw a starting quarterback in any fantasy league have points that low.
In a passing league.
In a passing league. I mean, it's an embarrassment. I mean, I know it's fantasy, but anybody who's a football fan plays fantasy. He should go hide.
Yeah.
He should be in a cave in Kentucky in a robe with sackcloth and ashes on. I mean, and that loss is on his head.
0-1. Nobody in the NFC North won last week. The Packers, the Vikings lost in overtime. The Bears got hammered by the Rams on Sunday night. The Rams beat the Bears. I think that's more on the Bears. I have not seen a Bears defense. We'll go to the bottom here. The Rams beat the Bears 34-14. I have not seen a Bears defense in all my years of being a Bears fan and watching NFL football tackle as bad as they did on Sunday night and not know the situations. And that is something that a Bears defense, offensively, they've been challenged for years. We know that their quarterback situation has been there. David Montgomery looks like he's coming into his own, and they've got some guys on offense that maybe they could develop depending on who the quarterback is going to be. And I didn't even think Andy Dalton had a bad game. No. Andy Dalton, that first drive, that interception took all the momentum away to open up the drive. If you open up 7-0 on the road against a team like the Rams, but give the Rams credit, they played the defense, they got the interception in the end zone. Matthew Stafford looked really good, which I thought he was going to be really good for the Rams, and he's a complimentary piece. And he's certainly
in heaven.
What they needed was something completely different than Jared Goff right now, who, by the way, looked pretty good against the 49ers, but we'll get to that in a second. But the Rams and Bears.
Matthew Stafford, who has 2 beautiful blonde wives.
Yeah.
If you didn't watch the game.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. You're right. Yes, that's pretty funny. Rams beat the Bears. The 49ers hold off Detroit. 49ers are injured all over the secondary now, Charlie. You see the 49ers every week. That's your team. Your station has them as an affiliate. Boy, 41-17 late in the game, 41-16 late in the game. And for them to get to 41-33, it was 41-33 at the end. Unbelievable how that 41-17, and then they got 16 points. Made an 8-point game. Screwed the 49ers point spread, too, for all those people as well, too. An 8-point win for the 49ers, but no Jason Verrett. Raheem Mostert now going to be out for the rest of the year. Jimmy Garoppolo looked okay. Trey Lance did throw a touchdown pass, ran the ball a little bit. The game still, even though it's the Detroit Lions, and they lost Jeff Okudah for the entire year as well, too. Their secondary could not tackle either, and they played just really poorly on defense. But I like Jared Goff, and I think DeAndre Swift is going to have a big year. Clearly, their receiving core is a little bit better than people think they are. I know a lot of that has to do with the 49ers secondary, but boy, San Francisco giving up 33 points to the Detroit Lions with the defense that's supposed to be as good as they are. I know it's week 1, and I'm sure they got a lot of work to do, but that was a tough one to watch a little bit on Sunday.
Oh, I think it was very tough to watch. I mean, you can't lift the pedal on a team like Detroit. I mean, you can't lift the pedal on any team in the NFL like that. You get a big lead like that. I don't care how bad the team is, they're still professionals.
Yeah.
And if you give them an opening, you give them an opportunity, they're going to take it. And I don't think that Kyle Shanahan was a nice person to be around at the Greenbrier on Monday and Tuesday down there, because they stayed in West Virginia so that they can stay on the Eastern time zone for Philadelphia. And I'm sure he wasn't a pleasant guy to be around, because that was not good football, and that was dangerous. I mean, literally, sometimes we overblow those things, but literally the Lions had a chance to come back and tie that game. And I mean, in theory, potentially win it. Although I don't at home, they would have gone for the tie and not the win, and then put it into overtime. But you can't do that. You can't do that. You're the 49ers. They're the Lions. You can't let that happen. And that puts a lot of doubt as a wager. That's to put some doubt in your mind, because this team now, they're iffy on the numbers because of what they did.
The Arizona Cardinals beat Tennessee 38-13. They throttled the Tennessee Titans. 2 surprises on both ends. Arizona on the very good side and Tennessee on the very bad side. Chandler Jones had 5 sacks for the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray looked good. DeAndre Hopkins looked good. Their running game looked good. Their defense, Chandler Jones, I mentioned the 5 sacks, but their defense they were flying around all over the place. They held Derrick Henry to not very much. I want to say he only had like 30 yards or less than 30 yards in that game. But the fact is that all 4 teams in the West, including the Seattle Seahawks, won last week. It's going to be a good division, Charlie, but I was really surprised at how Arizona played Tennessee last week.
Yes. As a matter of fact, they have it on good authority that Cliff Kingsbury took the for sale sign out of the front yard at his house after that. By the way, Derrick Henry, 58 yards in that game.
Yeah.
So, which is still atrocious for what you're depending on that guy to be. All we had heard is doom and gloom in Phoenix. And then they come out and you go, whew. And come on, folks. The Titans are not a walkover team.
But they certainly helped Arizona, that's for sure, with the turnovers and the bad play by Tannehill and Henry not being able to run, and Julio Jones in his first game getting a dumb 15-yard penalty.
But what was all the preseason talk? All the preseason talk has been about the Titans being a playoff team. And for Arizona to come in and dominate that game that way, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, the Cardinals just became a team that's got to be on your must-watch list now.
Kansas City Chiefs, as we go to the AFC, they were down big to Cleveland. Cleveland had a chance to really make a statement in this game, and all of a sudden they just folded in the third and fourth quarter, 33-29. Kansas City beats Cleveland. Did not cover the 5, went for the 2 to try and cover for everybody to make it a 6-point game. Did not get the 2-point conversion. But Baker Mayfield towards the end, I mean, it was the old same Cleveland Browns at the end right there. Give Kansas City's defense credit, but boy, they did not play well for 2.5 quarters, and then Patrick Mahomes decided to get in the action and take that team back. Of course, the pressure got to the Browns a little bit. You're down, and then the punter muffs the snap. Kansas City's a short field. They go in and take the game-leading touchdown. Did not get the 2-point conversion for the cover. Kansas City is a 3.5-point favorite going into Baltimore on Sunday Night Football, and the Cleveland Browns, I believe, will have they're favored. They have the Houston Texans this weekend at home. They're a 13-point favorite against the Houston Texans, who are 1-0, by the way, over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Mark Ingram.
You and I are favored against Jacksonville.
Yeah, well,
I'm a quarterback.
Boy, I don't know. Trevor Lawrence, I like what Trevor Lawrence did, but interesting scenarios in the NFL. The Eagles beat the Falcons, the only team in the NFC East to win. The NFC South, I think it's not just Tampa Bay in the NFC South. I think New Orleans will give them some competition. Yeah. And I think Carolina is pretty good, too. Carolina beat the Jets in the Sam Darnold game.
Congratulations, Sam Darnold. I'm so happy for you, buddy. Yeah.
Their offense still needs to be worked on a little bit. I don't know if they used McCaffrey the right way on Sunday, but the fact is they did get the win. Defensively, they held Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson played well in the second half as well. And then some of the other games to look at from last week were the Rams game we mentioned, but also we're down here. Arizona beats Tennessee. Oh, the Steelers. Yeah, that's the one I wanted to get to. The Bills, 6.5-point favorites coming in. Everybody's top Super Bowl pick. I actually ended up taking. I thought the Bills would win, but I thought 6.5 was too much for that defense. And when they were down 10-0, could not move that ball in the whole first half. And then Roethlisberger, I don't know what they did at halftime. They got a couple of field goals, made it a 10-6 game. And Buffalo's offensive play sequences were really interesting and really questioned in terms of some of the plays that they called. Did you happen to catch, I'm sure you did, the 4th down play where you lateral it back to the running back instead of going straight ahead and giving the ball in the short field to Roethlisberger, and then they go down and get the go-ahead touchdown at the time. Deontay Johnson with the great catch in the corner there, in the back corner of the end zone from Roethlisberger to give it a 13-10 lead. And then the very next possession, they block the punt and run it in for the touchdown to make it 20-10. And you could just tell that momentum, speaking of momentum, shifted the other way, and the Buffalo Bills were not going to win that game. 23-16, the final score for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cleveland lost, Baltimore lost, Cincinnati won. So the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals are 1-0 in the division. Baltimore will host Kansas City. We said a very good chance Baltimore could go 0-2. And Cleveland's 0-1. They have Houston this weekend, as we said. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, who do they have this weekend, actually? They have the Raiders this weekend. So they'll have the Raiders at home, 5.5-point favorite over the Raiders this weekend. But talk a little Steelers-Bills here before we close out the NFL, Charlie.
Well, I was really surprised at the Bills. I mean, the Steelers are never a walkover team. Okay. I mean, they've always played tough. And I know Roethlisberger, we all think this is the final year, but we've been thinking it's the final year for the last 10 years with him. But, I mean, he's so banged up and so, he's a $6 million man at this point with all the repairs that he's had. But, the Bills, I mean, like we said, a lot of people have been saying Super Bowl team, and the expectations are high. And man, they came out of there, and now the expectations are low. And again, I mean, after the game, Allen, sometimes those first losses are all right because you come back and you work on things you might not have worked on if you would have won. What?
That's what Aaron Rodgers said too after week 1. I mean, I guess you don't put a lot of stock in week 1, but at the same time, you can tell who's got it and who doesn't have it.
It's a 17-game season this year. I put a lot of credence in week 1. You got to come out and get ready. You got to go. I mean, I'm sorry. This is not 162 games. This is not 82 games. You got to go, baby. You got to make it happen.
Let me ask you this then, because a lot of talk in training camp, from all the pundits and all the coaches. A lot of guys, veteran guys, did not play at all in the 3-game preseason. And I think it showed a little bit in week 1 by some bad fundamentals. So I don't know if that means that guys are going to come next training camp. They're going to have more game action, live game action. I talked to Darren Smith last week of the Kansas City, ESPN Kansas City last week, talking about the Chiefs. And he said Andy Reid always plays his guys at least a couple of quarters for game action because you can't beat game action. But I think in watching these 16 games over this last weekend, Charlie, for week 1, I thought there was some really bad football. And I think some of it had to be due to the fact that a lot of teams did not put their main guys out there at all during the preseason. Yeah, you get a lot of practice time, and these combined practices with the other teams, with the opponents, was pretty good too, just to hit somebody else. But actual game action really does mean something, and I think it showed up. And I think we're going to see better football this weekend because of it. That's just my opinion.
Well, let's just talk practical. Okay, baseball, you have spring training. Basketball, you have preseason. Everybody, you have the warm-ups. Now, look, I understand football. It's heavy contact, and you run the risk of losing somebody for the season with one hit. I know the risk factors there, but what's early losses worth at the end of the season? And you have to factor that in. And I think it makes a real difference depending on what division you're in and how you want to factor in what you want to have to do in the playoffs. Home field advantage, all those kind of things. And I think you've got to factor that in. And you're right. From the starters, there was some bad football out there. And you could tell the difference. I think the fact that Andy Reid had played his guys made the difference in that Cleveland game, because when they got down, they looked like guys who had played during the preseason. They were ready to take advantage of a situation when it rolled their way. And at the end of the game, they were able to put it away.
No doubt. So some of the NFL lines, as we get close to the end of the show here, we're going to hit a little college football in a second. The Saints are at the Carolina Panthers. Good NFC South showdown. Cleveland has Houston. Chicago is hosting Cincinnati. Pittsburgh hosting the Raiders. Buffalo is on the road. They are at Miami, who got a good win at New England last week. Patriots and the Jets go this weekend. Patriots 6-point favorite on the road at the New York Jets. Might be a little high. Denver is 6-point favorite at Jacksonville. San Francisco 3 at Philadelphia. The Rams 3.5. Kind of low there for the Rams a little bit. Where are they at? They're going to Indianapolis. It's actually 3.5 and 48. That's probably the right line. The Chargers are 3.5 at home. They have the Cowboys Monday night, Green Bay and Detroit in a division game of 0-1 teams. The Lions. Hopefully they come out and play well again. And this fourth quarter wasn't a fluke for them. And then Kansas City Sunday night, 3.5 at Baltimore, 55 the total there. We'll have a full Friday football preview of all the games show on the Friday football segment. We're going to take 30 seconds to kind of review a little bit of college football before we get out of here and make our picks. And then don't forget at 6 Eastern, we'll have our final late afternoon, early evening picks for this Thursday. Washington and the Giants tonight on NFL football. Still baseball races to be determined as we got 7-8 games going tonight, and then a full weekend of good baseball series. Back in 30 seconds to wrap up with college football and our picks for the early afternoon, early evening games. Welcome back for the last segment of the Make the Money and Run podcast for September 16th, 2021. He's Charlie O. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. Thanks to everybody on Facebook and YouTube for joining us as well. Download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you want. We're sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino, celebrating 40 years. Check them out at BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252 7262. Next week, we'll start talking about mysuperdraft.io. Check out the Superdraft website right now, superdraft.io/vpartysports. Check out the website. We'll get more into that as the week goes on, but definitely going to be a new sponsor. So I had a dream last Friday night, Charlie. I had a dream last Friday night that my dad was talking to me because of Ohio State. We have a lot of connections to Ohio State. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Ohio State. And he said in the dream, he said, I can't believe you're going to take Oregon tomorrow. And I said, I love Ohio State, and I love the fact that they did everything for us. And I said, but Dad, they're 14.5-point favorites. It's too much. And he goes, oh, I understand. So that was in my dream before Saturday morning. But how about Oregon going into Columbus and beating Ohio State, covering the 14.5? My dad was not a wagerer, by the way, so that dream probably was a little bit reality, but a little messed up. 35-28. Oregon goes into the horseshoe, beats Ohio State. Ohio State's defense did not look very good. Give Oregon a ton of credit. Michigan was very happy. They saw Ohio State lose in the afternoon. They demolished University of Washington 30-10, a 2-0 start there. Iowa State in the in-state rival with Iowa, who looked really good against Indiana, but I really like Brock Purdy and Iowa State. This isn't a conference game, so it doesn't hurt them as much. But these were the games that I really focused on. Iowa State, 4.5-point favorite or 4, depending on when he got on. It got really beat up by Iowa over the weekend. Kirk Ferentz probably has a good defensive team, and maybe they're a team that's going to be on the rise here a little bit. Stanford embarrasses USC, 42 points they throw up on USC. Get Clay Helton fired on Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. They, after looking bad against Kansas State, they come back, and this is a conference game. They're in first place, tied with Oregon in the North Division. Actually, Oregon hasn't even played a conference game yet, so they're in first place in the Pac-12 right now. Is Stanford. Who would have thought that? And then BYU beats Utah at home. BYU looked outstanding. Utah having a tough time starting this year right now. Utah with a tough game against Arizona 2 Saturdays ago. Let Arizona get back in the game a little bit and then get beat. And they've got games this weekend. So what were your impressions of last weekend, Charlie, in terms of the way college football went down?
Well, first of all, hats off to Oregon. I mean,
hats off to our intern, Nick Robinson.
Exactly. Yes. Nick did a good job. We'll be able to praise him in person tomorrow. Going into the shoe and winning, no matter how good or how bad Ohio State is almost impossible. I mean, it is so difficult to do because it's such an intimidating place. But to go in there and have them playing pretty well, and notice I said pretty well, is very tough. And they really dominated that game. If you go back and look at that game, they really dominated that game. I also think they brought out the fact that Ohio State this year is very suspect. We thought they might be after we watched that Minnesota game, because we thought, man, they aren't. I mean, Minnesota is not a good program. They're a mediocre program, and they should have gone to Minnesota and just crushed them. And they did not do that. Now they come home in the most friendly environment that a team can have, and they have a team come in from the West Coast and in what is the weakest of the Power 5 conferences. I mean, I'm just being honest. And they have an Oregon team that we know is very good come in and manhandle them.
A 9:00 a.m. body time game.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, totally off their clocks. I got to tell you, Ohio State, suspect. So if you're wagering, be very careful with them, because right now, Ohio State this year isn't Ohio State from last year. So you need to watch them.
Some good games this weekend. Again, we'll have the full Friday football preview show, but just taking a look at some of the games here. Oklahoma, Nebraska used to be a great Big 12 matchup. Nebraska not very good. Oklahoma, Big 12, yeah. Whatever that is now, but Oklahoma's still in the Big 12. Cincinnati, Indiana, a little bit of a rivalry there. Cincinnati's really good. They were down 7-0, and Murray State ended up winning 42-7. West Virginia, Virginia Tech, that is a rivalry that is very unheralded. Michigan State will go to Miami this weekend. Purdue and Notre Dame will play this weekend. Alabama, Florida in the SEC. USC and Washington State will play. this weekend. Memphis and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's defense is really good. Georgia and South Carolina. Utah, San Diego State in the Mountain West Pac-12 matchup. Big game, Auburn, Penn State. I really like Penn State. UNC looks to be good at Charlotte. They're going to be in Chapel Hill hosting Virginia. Stanford on the heels of that USC victory. Vanderbilt got the upset victory last week at Colorado State. Now Stanford's going to go out to Vanderbilt and play them, and hopefully they don't fall on their faces against Vanderbilt. Oregon State.
But the two schools, the smartest players in the world on the field there between Vanderbilt and Stanford.
Oklahoma State will travel to Boise, Idaho. Arizona State will host BYU, or Arizona State will visit BYU. Big game for UCLA. Fresno State is no chopped liver this year. And UCLA an 11-point favorite. And I've heard UCLA people say 11 might be a lot, but UCLA is really good. And their running game, whatever Chip Kelly has done to make adjustments, he's done it so far. And they look really good. And I liked them in the beginning of the year. And I thought that they can compete in the South. I think now clearly they're probably better than USC right now as far as the South division. And Utah is probably up there as well too, although I'm still not sold on Utah based especially the way they played against BYU. And our Spartans are going to go to Hawaii for a 9:30 West Coast time game, 12:30 on the East Coast Sunday morning. Fox Sports 1 will have it. They're a 7-point favorite going into Hawaii. So here's the thumbnail of Saturday, Charlie. What are you looking at?
There's a lot of interesting games that are popping up. I'm kind of interested in that Cincinnati Indiana game just because that's an interesting game to watch. I'm always got my eye on Coastal Carolina. I'm still watching Michigan. I'm interested to see what Harbaugh's doing with that program. He's trying to save his job there. He's trying to keep things going. He's trying to make the momentum. And I'm interested to see what he's doing because I want to see whether he could raise that team up and make them competitive to Ohio State. Because, folks, it doesn't make that much difference if you're in the West Coast, if you're in the South, even on the East Coast. But in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes area, Ohio State, Michigan is like a bowl game. And I'm going to be curious to see how that game works out. But the other game I'm really interested to watch, and Casey Freelove will be very happy with me. I think that Alabama-Florida game has the potential to be a really good football game, and I'm excited about that one. And I also just because we used to call a lot of Fresno State games, I'm really interested to watch that Fresno State UCLA game. And UCLA, I think, wants it for a couple of reasons. One is because they know the UCLA program right now is down for the count after the blowing that. I mean, they literally blew that program up this week. I still don't understand that decision. But they have a chance now to become the most popular college football program in Southern California. And I think they want to build on that.
No doubt about it. Don't forget to join us at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. A little baseball talk, but the Friday football show where we do most for our hay. We talk full NFL, full NCAA tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the West Coast. All right. Britannia Arms, our sponsor. Thanks very much. 40 years. Silicon Valley's longest running British pub and food restaurant service. NFL, NCAA weekends are great there. Go check them out. All right. Last minute of the show. Charlie O, picks to go.
Yeah, I got to do all my picks now because I'm going to be tied up later today. I'm taking Oakland minus 120 in that game with Kansas City. College football tonight. I'm going to take Ohio University plus 19.5 in that game. Solich pretty good against the spread, 9-1 when they're the underdogs like that in double digits. And in the Thursday night game, I'm going the under 40.5 in that game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense.
All right. For me, the afternoon games, don't forget to check back at 6 o'clock Eastern for the later games and the night games. We'll have an update on the Phillies-Cubs game as well. Colorado plus 160. Game's going to go off at 2 o'clock now. White Sox at 2 o'clock minus 170 against the Angels. Kansas City Royals, I'm going against the A's today. Daniel Lynch for the A's against Paul Blackburn plus 106. All right. Thanks, everybody. The Make the Money and Run podcast, sponsored by Britannia Arms of Cupertino. Check them out as well. We'll see you at 1 Eastern tomorrow for the Friday football show, Make the Money and Run podcast. Have a great afternoon. Good luck, everybody.